still be able to make that bigger.
Huh?
I still be able to make that bigger. Like this
This
is
is what
bigger.
happens when you have uh technology averse people on your podcast. You go live and they talking about making stuff bigger.
Oh, I'm sorry. You did say you was going live. My bad.
And I said, no,
My
I just
bad.
Kim
You did
Warner
say
is
that.
gonna provide the
Yeah.
jokes. He
Yeah.
opened us up with one, right?
My bad. You time you said that, I opened my mouth and said that too.
This is Kimberly Robinson Alexander. I am here with Be Empowered, and I am so privileged, like immensely gracious, and like just sitting in a whole lot of gratitude to have Calvin Thomas and Kim Varner Sr. with us this afternoon. Lots of people don't know April is Second Chance Month, and there is national and federal legislation out there that speaks about individuals having second chances at life. And there are organizations like the Clean Slate Initiative and lots of others who are part of the Clean Slate and Second Chance Coalition, which Be Empowered is, that is working diligently to make sure that individuals who make mistakes do not suffer catastrophic consequences because of it. And I couldn't imagine telling another story during that time, but that of Calvin Thomas and how Kim Varner came into his life later on and helped him come home, start a new chapter in his world. So, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's an
So,
honor to be here with you.
Yes, it is.
thank you. Thank you. I am going to actually take a moment to share some stuff online to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to tune in. And then we're going to jump right in it. We're going to give some people some time to join. So nobody misses this conversation because it is truly going to be a dope conversation. There's so much to tell. Um, so much was experienced. Before we started, I was talking about how being born in 1978, I don't have a frame of reference to 1943, and when you, Calvin, were born in the deep South in Florida, during a time where segregation and the Ku Klux Klan was loud and proud and in charge in a lot of ways, and having to fear for your life in a different way than even we do now. So I want to start out just by having a conversation about what early life was like for you.
Yes, well, my early life it was it was good. It was about as good as to be expected, from uh, being a black man, a black guy, a black person. The South, the South was the South. It was the South.
Hmm.
We came up hard. We came up struggling. We came up fighting. We came up surviving.
Mm,
And that's why I title my book "I Survived"
that's right.
because I'm still surviving. You know,
Amen.
but my childhood was all right. We was uh, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brothers. We was all poor. We was poor with grandmother too. I can't forget my dear soul. That's my heart, my grandmother. But anyway, we was poor, but we was happy. We
Hmm.
was happy,
Hmm.
And mom worked all day, every day, ironing for these people and trying to support. At the time, it wasn't but three of us when I first was born. It wasn't but three of us. Mom had kids. My sister later on in life, other affairs, relationships she had with men or whatever. But anyway, we used to watch my mom every day come from work, and we would live in this little gully down in the hill, like down some, and Mom used to top the hill with 2 bags of groceries in a big old paper bag. You could buy a whole bag of groceries for $5 back then. $5, big old bags of groceries. Mom come up that hill and we run, mama, and grab the bag because she be so tired. Be an iron all day for the white people. All day with that hot iron. So my mama taking care of children, and I always was in, I was thankful for that. I was thankful for my mama because she loved us and she did everything she could to take care of us. And I said to myself, Lord, when I'm older, I'm gonna get my mama up out of this place. I'm gonna buy my mama a home. God had gifted me with the gift of sports, of baseball. As of today, I still think I could have played in the major leagues along with Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. I could play a little bit now. You don't believe it? Let's get on the field. I love it. But anyway,
At the age of 82.
listen,
Yeah.
it was a struggle. It was a struggle. But Mom said, son, whatever you do in life, remember this. You can give out, but that you never give up. My mom told me this, and I live by that. I live by that too. So we grew up, and each year I said, don't worry, baby. I'm going to get you up out of here. Out of this hole here. We did a lot of fishing. We was born when I was born on the St. John River. I lived on the St. John River, Jacksonville, started out there by Jacksonville University. Nothing but woods then, nothing but woods, bears and lions or whatever. Anyway, I want to tell you this little story about the race, about the white people and black people. It was a bunch of woods, so it was some white people lived down there too, not far from us, and they had kids. And the kids don't get in all this foolishness. They don't know all of it. They don't know it. They don't care.
Which proves that racism is not inherited, it's taught.
Yes, it is taught. Because I had a little girlfriend, a little white girlfriend. We had a tree house. Listen to me. I ain't trying to be smart and all that.
How old were you?
I was old enough to know I had. Yeah, I was about. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. Might have been older than that. I think I might have been now. Anyway, we had this tree house back. The little girl had 2 brothers, and I had my sister at the time and my brother. So we go in the little tree house and we play and stuff, And because one of the little white boys let to my sister too. And the parents called us back there one day. And my God, I called on God then. I said, Lord, don't let them kill me back here now. Well, they went off. They went off on us so bad. I said, yeah, like people, we kill y'all. I'm messing my dog. They've used the word. They call the word. You know what the word is. Nigger. And I said, we just have it. That's the door. So they left. So I said, Lord, do people treat each other like that? You know what? So from that incident there, I witnessed many more incidents in my life that affected me deeply. And I'm still puzzled as to why things like that would happen, would go on when God said we all should treat each other equally, love each other, share with each other.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't happening. I went to a restaurant. I paid my money at the window, front of the window, like everybody else was doing. I'm on the way from playing softball after dark, after school, and I had to walk by about 10 miles to my house down there. Got 10 or 15 miles. But I was young then. Athletic, I didn't care. So I stopped at this little restaurant to get me a sandwich. I was so hungry. So I went to the front of the window and paid me. I said, I would like 2 hamburgers to go, please. Onions and tomatoes. So they took my money. So I stood to the side. They said, no, you're going to have to go around to the back.
Mm.
I said, the back? He said, yeah, you're going to have to go around to the back. I said, okay. I said, all right. So I went around to the back and stood up there about 2 hours. They were serving the other white folks for this. Oh, we didn't forgot you was out there, they told me. You know? And you know, that cut deep. That cut real deep, real deep, real deep. And I didn't go back to that restaurant, that place no more.
That leads me to like it. I've always wondered, you know, whether or not people who grew up in the time where stuff was happening in that way and it was so prevalent, if you knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yes.
clearly what you're saying is you knew it was wrong.
Yes, I did. I knew. Yes, and you know, I wanted to. Then my mind, I wanted to develop. I wanted to grow up to be a person that would sort of change that a little bit, to fit in, to change that. I wanted to show people that, hey, look, God said for us to love one another. We're not doing that. We're destroying one another in a way, you know. So, and today I still feel like that. I feel like I miss my calling. I feel like that because I wanted to be this professional player, professional baseball player. I wanted because I had this talent. I had it, but God must be didn't want me to be one. Because I'm not one. You know, I'm what I am, and I'm a man. Let me say, on a mission.
I always say God already had the plan for you when you were born. And you know, he knew what your plan was going to be for life, you know, and it was his plan was for you to be a ball player. His plan was for you to go through what you went through, and so you can come out. He knew you was going to come out and you was going to be able to help others one day.
That's
So
right.
that's the way I look at that. I try and make something positive out of every negative. And you know, I know you haven't told your story yet, but you lived that story so you could be able to work with other people who went through the same thing. It's so much easier for you to help those people being that you've been through it. You know,
Yeah.
you were strong enough to go through it. God knew you were strong enough to go through it. That's why He put you through it. If He was like you say, they don't put more on you than you can bear. He knew you could handle it. And now you out, you living your life. I've never seen him bitter about any of it. Never, ever, ever seen him. Not knowing you what, about 8 years now, 8, 10 years. I've never seen Kelvin bitter, and that was one of the main things that really excited me about him when I first met him. Uh, you know, when he's still locked up, and it's just never been bitter. He's always been grateful for life. He's always given his credit to God, you know, thank God and everything, and that I think that's what God put you through it because He knew you could deal with it, bro.
Yeah.
That's my brother right here. I think God put him through it because He knew he could deal with it. So
Yeah, I tell you, he brought you into my life at the right time. I tell you that. You're a good man. You're a good person. Not only to me, to everybody. You know, and when I was getting to get out, let me get back. I'm fast track right now, but I want to get back a little bit to my story growing up. I was always one to look out for people. Always. I was always one to look out for people. You know, I felt like, hey, that's what I was supposed to do, you know. And after I didn't get to be the ball player, I said, well, Lord, what I'm gonna do now? I don't have no education, you know. I said, I'm just here. What am I gonna do? You know. So God said, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Said, you got me. I said, thank you, Lord. Thank you. So I went through life knowing that one day, that I was gonna get out of prison. I was gonna get off. I knew I was gonna get off the death row.
Amen.
I knew that. But I questioned me and God had some boundaries. I tell you that right now. And I talked to him like I'm talking now. I feel like I got this personal relationship with him, and that's how I try. I said, Lord, what's going on? What I'm gonna do? I mean, how can I can't make it like this? So he said, yes, you can, because I'm with you. And then I call myself talking the attitude and getting mad with it because it wasn't happening. And he said, you better sit down. You better sit down.
I think we've all been there before, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah,
talk
please
I want to talk about
talk
the
to me.
situation that led to incarceration. So let's go back to 17.
17.
That's when you were arrested. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when I went to prison.
All right. So let's talk about that. What were the circumstances? What happened that led to your arrest?
Listen, okay. We went. I was whiskey still. I was making moonshine, and the still got stolen. The whiskey still got stolen by some white boys in a pickup truck.
Mhm.
And so that was our little livelihood. The black, we didn't have, kids didn't have no job. They wouldn't give our dads and moms no job. So we had to come up with something to try to survive. The dude, the older guy, he knew how to make moonshine.
So hold on, Kevin, if you let me in,
Energy.
and I just want to set the story up. So, because you're saying the older guy, people don't know the older guy. We haven't talked about it, so they don't know what.
The older guy.
So it's three of them that was making the moonshine. One guy was 6 years older than Kevin, and the other guy, a few years older than them, and he had a strong influence on them because he was older. And then now, go ahead and finish your story. I don't want to jump in, but I just want to set it up.
We went to run off our moonshine that day, and we heard this truck coming. We hid off in the woods, and the guy had our steel on the back of the truck. So there goes our little, whatever, little money, our little livelihood, whatever. So, we said, the older guy said, we got to get some money. I wouldn't whip up the guys myself, because I know they had stolen steel. I know they weren't out there just selling. They was out there, but anyway, he said, no, we can't do that. All right. We go down to, and then the store end up sitting there by some blocks, the way the steel was sitting on top of the block. I said, well, I ain't got no more money now. Anyway, he said, we need $400. No, $500. $400 or $500. That's what it costs to make a steel, to get the man to make the steel. I don't know nothing. But anyway, that's what happened. So we go across town, and we see this store right here on Merle and 13th and Merle Avenue. And so we go in there, and so I go in the back because I'm hungry. And then I hear a gunshot. So I run up front. When I ran up front, I see the man laying on the store owner laying on the ground on the floor. And I ran up out of there. I ran up out of that store. I did. I ran up out of that store. And I ran across Case Road. I ran in an abandoned house. Still high off the ground back during that time. The house was, and I ran up under that house. And I said, Lord, what I done got myself into? What the hell? And then I heard somebody calling me. Hey, Pop. Hey, Pop. I was scared to answer. Hey, Pop, this me, this Booster. That's the older guy. That's the older guy. He was the one that did the shooting. He was the only one that had a gun. I didn't have no gun. And the other guy didn't have no gun either. We was 17. He had got shot. Apparently the store owner had peeped the robbery and shot the other younger guy. And the older guy told me he was finna shoot him, but he shot him first. So I wasn't gonna let it shoot me, so I shot him first. So that's really what happened.
So the three of them went to the store, And the store owner saw that the other guy had a gun. The three of them were together. He saw the guy had a gun. Ended up shooting the younger co-defendant, the older co-defendant ended up shooting the store owner. The store owner died.
Yes.
The other co-defendant lived.
Yes. So he went to the hospital. So me and the older guy tried to go out to the hospital to see, this was a crazy thing to do. But we couldn't, we hung around the hospital and, nothing happened. I said, man, we got to get out of here. Police are all around that thing. And so we went across the bridge, the Matthew Bridge. That's where I was living out there in Arlington with my grandmother, my sweet grandmother. Boy. Anyway, I went home. I went home with my grandmother, and I went in my room out there. And about an hour or two, it was just knocking on the door, but I knew they was coming. I knew the police was coming. I knew it. I had put my clothes off and got in the bed, and I heard this turbine out like a tornado was coming, like a bulldozer pushing it. Wow, my grandmother poor thing got up and went to the door and said, who has the police? Oh, they just went off. And my grandma said, you have them? I'm looking with Howard Thomas. So my grandma said, you can't. Is he here? I'm coming to get him. My grandma said, you got a warrant. You don't need no one. Boom. Boy, they pushed my poor grandmother. I ain't never forgot it. They just, boom, pushed open. Yeah, and come back in that room and snatch me up out of that bed. I was in my shorts. I slept in my shorts. And they snatched me up out of that bed and treated me like a stepchild. Four big old people, police and detectives, and put them handcuffs on me and tried to break my. I said, sir, please unloose it. They're too tight. Please take them off. Shut up. And drug me out of that room with my shorts and threw me in the back of that police car. And that was my life. That was my life. Yes.
And from that moment, when you were arrested, how long were you in prison?
I was in prison, to be exact. 49 years, 8 months, and some days.
Wow.
Not straight now. Listen to me. Mm-hmm. Not straight. Not straight. I did 20 years first. Mm-hmm. Let me go back. I did 12 years on death row. That's when they sentenced me for that crime. I got off of death row. I wish I could tell my story. I want to tell it because there's a lot of stuff I need to tell. I need to tell it. That's what you hear for the kids. Look, on death row, when they signed my death row, I turned 21 years old. They signed my death warrant. And they took me down in waiting cells, right not far from the chair, about a few feet from the chair. 3 cells, and 3 on the other side, 3 on this 6 cell. Anyway, they put us 3 on this side, and I think I was in the 3rd cell from the chair room. I think the older guy was in the 1st cell from the chair room. I was in the last cell, and the other guy, Jack, was in the 2nd cell. So we were saying, who was when they gonna get first? Who they coming to get first? Who they going? I said, well, I don't know, bro. I said, but whatever. It is what it is, bro. So, I didn't know. I asked God, I said, Lord, I'm not ready. I ain't never did nothing. I don't have a kid. I want to know what it is to be a father. I want to live a little life here on this earth, Lord. I'm not ready to go yet. I said, please spare my life. And I said, I would like to get out and meet a beautiful young lady and have me a son to take my place, to achieve my goal, play baseball. I wanted to bring him up like And don't let them take my life, God. Let me get a chance to do this. Let me live a little bit before I come home to be with you. And guess what? God heard me. My God heard me. And I came within 12 hours of being executed. Yes. And I looked up and see these big old guys, two of big old monsters, like, 6'7", big old in suits. I was walking the floor, pacing the floor, talking to the Lord. And they say, "You Calvin W. Thomas Jr.?" I said, "Yes, sir." And they stuck the hand through the bar for me to shake the hand. So I walked back and they said, "My name is Sis. I'm a U.S. Marshal from Jacksonville, Florida, and this is my colleague, my work partner. And we have a stay of execution for you from U.S. Federal Judge Charles Scott." All I could do was fall on my knees and cry. Thank the Lord. And thank the Lord. And thank the Lord for sparing my life.
Amen.
For sparing my life.
I'm gonna let you telling your story, but I want to put something in here. I want people to understand what happened.
Put it in there.
You were 17 years old.
Yes.
You were in the store, came through the back door.
Yes.
Body on the floor.
Yes.
Your friend had been shot.
Yes.
You went and you hid. You went to go visit him in the hospital. You went home.
Yes.
And you rested in your home where you lived with your grandmother.
Yes.
Trial, to my understanding, was short in terms of deliberation, happened very quickly, and you were convicted of first-degree murder.
Yes.
And you were sentenced to death.
Let me add this part in real quick, Kim. I've been trying to sit here quietly, but I'm glad you interjected all this part because this is important. But people got what you got to realize. This was during the '60s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they went in the store. A white store owner was shot and killed by a black male in the '60s, and of course they were charged with when the store owner shot the other guy. They're charged here in the state of Florida. You get charged with that. So they're charged with murder and the ag assault on another individual. They go to trial, like you said, and they get sent straight to death row. This is the '60s in the state of Florida, and like I said, a white storm. I want to put emphasis on that so people understand, what he was facing and what he went through. I'm sorry, Nat. You finish what you were saying.
I
I'm sorry.
just want to make sure that we are clear on the sequence of events and the times. Like, I think that's important. Like, this happened in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're 17 years old and you're on the road.
Yeah.
And you said 21 when they signed your death warrant?
Yes, just turned 21 they signed.
And I want to also emphasize that you were hours away from execution.
Yes, I had gave my last meal on Earth to eat. And I was on pork chops.
When I laughed.
You know.
Yes, I laughed. I laughed so hard. Not that anything about this story was so funny, but the fact that when I met Calvin in person just last month, we all sat together at a barbecue spot, and Calvin ordered the pork chop.
Yeah.
So even at 82,
he's still eating them pork chops.
Calvin still love him some pork chops.
Yeah. And he usually take 2 home with him.
He did.
Yeah, he used to take 2 of them home with him.
Pork chops home with him. So
yeah.
Nothing else, he's consistent.
Well,
we're grateful. We're grateful for that stay of execution. We're grateful for God sparing your life. We're grateful. I'm grateful to be sitting here with you now. So I will allow you to continue. I really wanted people to understand the backdrop that was in 1960 and how old you were and what you were dealing with. So you got the stay of execution. What happened next?
Yeah, I got the stay of execution. They put me back up there on the regular death row, where it was about 9 of them guys in all at the time. And I stayed there for a few more years for the U.S. Supreme Court abolished capital punishment in America. This was in 1972.
Okay.
So they had to let all of us off of death row. Everybody on death row had to come off. And they took the time letting us off. We had to come back. I had to come back to Jacksonville to be resentenced to life. And they took me back to prison, put me back on death row. Then they had to take the time and sort out the paperwork and stuff to move everybody from off of death row into the general population.
Mm-hmm.
Now they didn't do all this. They didn't move everybody at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you, they moved 5. The first 5, I was in the mix. So they moved us first 5, and then a few more the next 2 months. It was a slow process. I guess they didn't want to flood the population with the death row guys or something. I don't know. Because the guy did tell me this. I said, why y'all don't never talk to me? They said, we scared of you. I said, what you scared of me for? They said, you off of death row. So I said, yeah, you're right. I'm off of death row. I said, but I'm not a killer, brother. I said, they tagged me with that. I said, I've never killed nobody in my life, bro. Actually.
I need to say that again. I need everybody to hear that, because I think that's an important part of this story.
Yes, I said,
Being told, traumatized by the sight of a dead body, someone who you called friend was shot, and you have now been charged and convicted of murder and aggravated assault, and you had no weapon, you committed no crime, and you shot no one. So you are now labeled with the title killer, but that wasn't your heart.
No, that's right. That's right. And right today, I'm still puzzled about that. I don't understand how they can do that. How they can take another person's life, charge me with a crime that I really never committed. I never killed. You can come up with something else besides that. I've never killed anybody in my life and won't, man.
What happens with that, Kevin, and I can say is I was a cop here in Jacksonville for 26 years. And in the state of Florida, if you're with somebody when they're committing a felony,
Yes.
and someone is killed, injured, or harmed, you get charged with that, whether you did it or not. If you was there with them and a part of it, you get charged with it. All the co-defendants get charged with it.
I know that.
So that's why they charge you like that. That's the law here in the state of Florida.
I know that it needs to be repealed, and I want to work on it. If there any kind of way I think I can do this, they need to repeal that, man. That's wrong. You can't kill me. Talking about I ain't killed nobody. I'm a little upset about it. I am, because it's wrong. How you gonna kill somebody for me? I ain't never killed nobody, man. Even though I was there.
Your situation is different. In most cases, the co-defendants all are in together.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why that law is in place. And I get what you're saying. And especially being what you've been through, I understand why you're upset about it. But it's intended to try to keep people from killing people. And if you're with somebody, you might try and talk somebody out of doing that, knowing that you're going to be charged with it. So that's the reason for they made that law. I mean, to try and keep someone from killing someone else.
Yeah.
And I totally get why you're upset about it, because you had to go through what you went through. But that's the reason why that law is in place.
And like today, I feel like they stole my childhood. They took my young life from me. They took all of it. I didn't have a chance to really do nothing. None of my teenage years, they took it from me. But you know, my God said, I'm with you. I'm still with you.
Mhm.
You
How
know,
old were you when you were released from prison the first time?
I was 44, I believe. I
So
believe
you
I
had
was,
almost 30 years in prison at that point.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah. And you know, the prison life was hard, but it was good for me in a way too, because it shaped me. It shaped me as a man, as the man I am today. It made me strong in everything, you know. And so I don't consider this a waste of time or nothing like that. Uh, I did gain something from it, you know. And the main thing I learned from all of this is that you can, as long as you got God, you can rest assured that things gonna be all right. Because me and God have been in some battles, I'm gonna tell you. And He just set me right on down and told me, say, when I get ready to let you out of there, you coming out of there. So I said, okay, Lord, I got you. I was on my last leg, then I was about to give out. I was at the end of my wits, really, because I had been through so much.
And if I can say this real quick, it's a lot of black males. I worked at the public defender's office at the return from the sheriff's office in the homicide division as a mitigation specialist and an investigator in the homicide division. My job was when someone killed someone, my job was to go talk to them that second day and try and find out, do mitigation work, find out what got them to that point from the time they were born all the way, no matter the age, what got them from the time they were born to the time they actually killed that person, what happened in their life, what events may have happened in life to get them to that point. And I'm bringing this up because I've interviewed several other inmates that were on death row in the same situation that Kevin was in, and they feel that same way. And what I think is important for people to understand is those guys that they're sitting on death row, when they come out, death row, you sit in a cell by yourself. You may have a TV and you may not, but if they understood the conditions that these people were living in, you in that cell by yourself. You're supposed to be promised recreation, 1 hour recreation every day. You might get an hour every 3 weeks. You stand in a 6x9 cell, and people, I think if they understand what people in death row go through, and I get some people say, well, they shouldn't have killed somebody, they shouldn't have did the crime that they did, but still that person is human. Like I say, this is April, the second chance, but I'm just thankful that Kevin was given a second chance to come out. I can remember going to visit inmates and talking to them, and I remember I took my computer in there. They're in death row. They've been there for years and years. I took my laptop in to interview a guy, and you would have thought he saw the second coming of God because he was so excited to see the internet. He had never seen it before. He had heard about it, but never seen it because he'd been on death row for 30 plus years or however many years he was there. And it's a different lifestyle. It was a good thing for me to go through as a mitigation specialist because it made me it humbles you. It really humbles you. And as I was a 26-year veteran cop, and I still believe in laws, and Kevin believes in them as well.
Yes, I do.
But it really humbles you to see what some of these people go through that live in prison, and then during the '60s, during the time when he was there, if you were a black male, what you had to go through. I think that's a big part of this story. I don't want to overlook that part of it. I think it's a big part of the time that he went through prison and stuff he had to endure from the prison guards. He tells part of his story, and I don't want to tell you a story for you, Kevin, but he tells a part where the guards used to bring their kids in there, and the kids, we walk the kids up and down the death row and point at them, look at this nigga in here, and they, what are you doing? What that monkey doing? All that kind of stuff. The kids would talk about it. They bring the kids to make fun of.
I couldn't believe it.
That's the kind of stuff that happens in prison.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe people would treat other people like that. I couldn't believe that people look at another person's life as nothing, just something that a waste of time or something. And they would bring them kids in the unit time to view us on death row when we was in them death cells down there waiting to be there. So they said, like Kevin said, what? Daddy, what we? Oh, we gonna fry them niggas' head Monday morning, they would say. And they're like, oh, Daddy, yeah. But God was saying, no, you won't. See?
But I mean, that speaks to how like that's the thing that perpetuates racism.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
the piece of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that perpetuates the thought process behind how racism gets passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
We have about 20 minutes left, and I want to bring Kim into the conversation. I want to talk about how you met him.
Yes, I got it. Go ahead.
So I met Kelvin. Like I said, I worked at the public defender's office as a mitigation specialist. My job was to go, and I worked juvenile for life cases. So if a person was sentenced to life or death as a juvenile, the legislation had ruled that they get a second opportunity at another hearing to see if they're going to actually keep life, or they might get a number, or they might even keep life. So Kevin was on that list, and he had a great attorney, Kate Bedell. I don't want to take anything away from the other people on the team. I was just part of his defense team. I was a mitigation specialist assigned to his defense team, and there was another young lady named Camille Bergen.
Yeah.
She did an excellent job of some of the mitigation work she did. I just was a part of it. But that's how I met Kelvin. When he was going through it, we would have to go interview him and get his story. And then we'd come back and share his story with the attorney, and that's what she went through. And I can remember, I want to say this part real quick, and I'll be quiet, let you ask more questions. I know we're running out of time. But at his hearing, when he had his second hearing to see if he was going to either get life or keep life, or get a number, or they were going to let him out. Judge Mark Morello was the judge in the courtroom, and they asked Kelvin, "What they asked you?
How did I manage to get all the 3 DRs?"
So a DR is a disciplinary report. Kevin had been in there all that time, only had 3 of them. You have people that spend 3 years in prison; they already got 10 DRs. So it was very, it was uncommon for someone to have only 3 DRs for all that time they've been in there. It speaks on his character as a person. So when he told the judge, asked us, "How'd you manage to just get 3 DRs all that time in prison?" Kevin looked up at the ceiling of the courtroom and said, "Well, Your Honor, I guess it was just the grace of God." And then the judge said, "Well, by the grace of God, I'm gonna make you a free man." And it was like one of those exact words, but by the grace of God, I'm gonna make you a free man. And the people in the courtroom broke down. It was the state attorney was teared up. I mean, everybody in the courtroom, his sisters were in there, they reclined. And it was like a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
He had been locked up all that time when the judge signed determined him a free man, And I can say this, that I've been with Kevin almost every day since he's been out. If I'm not with him, we talk on the phone. And I just want to say this, one of the most humblest, God-fearing guys that I've been around. He got a real testimony and every right to be bitter for going to prison, spending all that time for something you didn't do. And I haven't seen any bitterness in him. I've never seen any bitterness in him. Kevin is 82 years old now. He don't act it. Kevin act like he about 30 something, So, but this guy here, man. I mean, it's my brother. I got to tell the seat button story real quick. So we get him in the car when he gets released out of prison, and they walk out to jail. I think it was the next day. We're taking him over to the reentry center where they issue like special items like toiletries, socks, the drive Florida ID card, that type thing. So we get him in the car. Keep in mind, Kevin had been on death row for all this time. He hadn't been in a car or anything. This was in the 60s when he went to prison. It's now the 2000s. So we get in the car, and he's in the front seat. I was behind him, and Camille was driving. And I said, "Kevin, you got to put a seatbelt on." He threw his hands up in there and said, "What do I do?" You know, because they wasn't wearing seatbelts in the 60s when he went to prison. He knew what a seatbelt was, so we told him what a seatbelt was. I leaned around and clicked it for him, put it on him. I say, now the law is you got to have a seatbelt on anytime you get the car now to go somewhere. So that's the first thing. It's funny, that's the first thing you do because he ain't trying to go get arrested or nothing. First thing you do when you get the car is put a seatbelt on.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine computers, cell phones, seat belts. There's so much changed.
Technology is amazing now compared to then.
This guy, you know, I can't say. Ain't enough I can say about this guy. This guy. I tell you what, God sent him to me. He sent him to me, and like I said, it's nothing I can say. Ain't too much. He's a great guy.
This is a great guy right here. You know, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. That's what I feel about it.
You know, the one thing I miss, what worries me today is this. I'm a proud man. I'm a proud individual. I consider myself a person of God. Although I got to get a little more closer with him, I've been slacking on my Bible reading and stuff like that, but not with talking with it. Anyway, this guy, the only thing I feel bad about today, I can't take care of myself the way I want to financially. Like I don't like the beg. I don't like the walk. And I feel like as a man, I'm supposed to be able to take care of myself, you know, properly. And you know, I really be stressed when I don't have any finances in my belongings. And I get my SSI check and everything and all that, but it takes the bills take my rent takes and everything. And I just feel bad when I don't have no finance, no little capital little money I can get hold to when I need it. Like now I need something. I just you know, and it makes me I be stressful. I be stressful. I want a little job. I can't work, but I need a little job or something to keep me a few dollars in my account, in my pocket or something.
You said that. I still say like
I need a little sit down job or something. You know, for my back. I do. Really.
This is your time to rest, and we're gonna get to how people can support you, because I think that's important too. The bottom line is that, like you said, though you're not bitter and you're not angry about it.
No. I can never be bitter. Nobody can do this. I did this to myself.
But you spent more time in prison than you spent in the world. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
And so all of the things and all of the potential that you had in the core years of your life were taken away from you.
Yes.
And so you could be bitter. But I want to, before we talk about how we can support you and your book and all of that stuff, because we're going to talk about that too. Tell us what you've done since being out, because you also took the opportunity to come home and still at the ripe young age of 70, what, you were 74 when you got home? Something like that?
Yeah.
And you took the opportunity to still be a positive influence in your community, your halfway house, and you became a leader still.
Went back and ran the halfway house. After he did his time at the halfway house, the people brought him back to run it and be in charge of the halfway house. That's the type of individual he is, you know?
Yes. And today, you know, I live in this cathedral town, senior citizen place, and all the homeless and things down there. There's three buildings right connected to each other, and it's in the midst of the homeless, Jacksonville, and oh boy, I tell you what, it's a sight, it's an experience. But you know, I mingle with them, I talk to them. That's me. They call me OG. They respect me, and if I got anything extra, money, dollars, I'm gonna give it to them. I give it to them. That's me. You know what I say? I said, God gonna provide for me. Like He gonna provide for me. I always say that. No, He said, I ain't got nothing.
And to show how God has provided for him since getting out of coming home from the halfway house, Kevin had a BMW SUV, he had a Lincoln.
That was ridiculous.
And now he drive a little Toyota, but all that stuff was God has provided for him. So God is going to provide for him. You know, I don't want people to feel sorry for him because Kevin he's a proud man. Yeah. Very proud man. I want people to feel sorry for him. I sit here and heard what he just said. But at the same time, Kevin has written a book and that supplements his income.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, that's a big part of it. I'm sorry.
It's called I Survive.
Yes. You know that.
Find it, Calvin. Tell us where we can find it.
Find your book.
Oh, it's on what is it on
Amazon.
Amazon.
And I didn't bring the book to hold up the show, but it's I Survived the Kelvin Thomas Story. It's on Amazon. I Survived the Kelvin Thomas Story. I also have a couple of them left over. If someone wants to inbox me, I'm on Facebook under Kim Varner, the name you see there. There's several other Kim Varners on there, but there's only one Kim Varner. You'll see my picture. If somebody wants to inbox me their information, I will gladly ship it to them. The book is $20. This paperback edition is $20. To have one sent to you is $22, so I can pay for the shipping and handling to get the book to you. $2 shipping and handling. So and I'm gonna say this, and this is Kelvin's day. This is his story. That's why I've been sitting here trying to be quiet. There's so much I've been wanting to say. We didn't really cover a lot of his story. I'm glad you touched on it, Kim, when you said about, you know, what happened at the store when he got arrested and what's happened since then. There's so much in that book that he talks about, and the book don't skip a beat. It tells everything in the order that it happened. Thank you. That's the book there. So it shows what happened in the order that it happened and everything, and the life he lived in prison, and what adds to his testimony of since he's been out of prison. When Kevin got out, I said, Kevin, you got to write a book, man. He said, okay, well, I've been writing down some stuff already. So that's how the book came about. I said, Kevin, man, you got to come to my church, because my church, I've already told my bishop about, you know, his life when I was working with him. I was so impressed with Kevin the whole time I was dealing with him while he was still locked up. We were working with him trying to get him out. So when he got out, he came to my church and ended up joining my church. Yeah. And he still goes to my church. So I mean, Kelvin is a like I say, he's a God-fearing guy that you know, had his life took a left turn on him, but I think it was intended by God for him to go that route. I know it was intended by God for him to go that route, just to build him up later on when he got out to help other people. We both have lost our sons to violence. Yeah. So we're both we brothers. We got a lot in common with each other. You know, I was a cop and he was in prison, but we got a lot in common with each other. I'm so thankful for it.
Calvin. What was your son's name?
Kelvin. 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 Kelvin Anquan Thomas.
And he was a junior.
And
he was a junior.
Yeah, not really a junior, because his name was spelled with a K. And mine spelled with a C. Okay. Yeah. And I didn't want to name him. Me and his mother got an argument, but I never forget it. Because she wanted to name, she wanted to name it something else. I said, no. No, I said, that's my child. We got in an argument about the name or something, you know. So I said, I don't want no more C.A.L. I want to, because we had 3 Calvins already in the family, my family, in Texas and that. My daddy, me, and another cousin, some name was Calvin. So I put the K in his name, Kelvin. Kelvin Anquan Thomas. That was his name.
And Kim, every chance I get, I want you to say Desi's name. So tell me your son's name. Huh? Talking to Kim.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What was your son's name?
My son, he was a junior, Kim Desmond Bonner Jr. We called him Desi for short, for his middle name, Kim Desmond Bonner Jr.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Beautiful boys that have beautiful fathers. And, you know, I know we just kind of scratched the surface on this story, Kelvin.
Yeah.
We definitely have to reconvene and continue having this conversation, because I think it's so important to have. And one thing that I always say when I talk about our Black boys and men especially is, one mistake should not be the thing to make your whole life go away. You know,
Yeah.
the way that Black men and boys are treated in contrast to the white counterpart, and the grace that is given and not given, there's a world between it. And so the moral of this story is that Calvin wasn't a killer. He's a moral man. He had hope and dreams and aspirations. And he said it earlier. If he gets you on the baseball field, he'll show you that too. You know, at 82. So I want to be clear that this is not a conversation about someone who is claiming to be perfect. He's not saying I was a perfect man. He is saying that he was a man who was worth a second chance, is worth a second chance. And even in the short time that he has spent out of prison, has contributed to his community. He's contributed to other people who have come home. He's contributed to helping people to reacclimate. And he's definitely contributed to my life and enriched my life in just the short time that I've known him. You know, got to sit down and break bread with him. And there is something about someone's spirit that you feel, you learn. And I call myself a good read of that. And the two men that I sit before right now are definitely men of virtue and men of great character and great spirit. And I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me and sharing your story, because I know that wasn't easy either. So
and you hit the nail on the head when you say spirit. Once somebody sit and talk to Kelvin, it just you can't just you just feel his spirit and see what type of person he is from that. You know, I mean, he just got that. You know, he got that charisma like that. You know. So,
yeah, I would have been scared of you back in your day. You know, hey, I might have been scared of you. You look like you spoke some stuff from people now.
Yeah, but you know, you have to. I had to ask God for this. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get out of prison. The same way I went in there. I knew that. I knew this. So I had to ask God for what I got now, the peace and the strength toward and things that I have towards people, my brothers and sisters. I had to ask God, don't let me get there. If you can't change my heart toward my people, I don't want to get out. It's no sense in me getting out, you know.
And people, all those people listen to what he just said. He didn't want to go and come out of prison the same way he went in. That's what prison's all about. But that's you just said a mouthful with saying that, man.
Right.
Said a mouthful with that, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the Calvin Thomas story. It's not over. It is still being written, and I am grateful to God that it is still being written. You can find it in paperback form online, and contact Kim Varner Sr. online. Facebook is probably the easiest way to catch him, or you can contact me. I will be happy to connect with whomever you need to be connected to, so that we can continue to support Calvin Thomas as he continues to pour up into a society that didn't really pour into him, you know, that didn't really give him a fair shot. So it's our time now to hold up our people, and one of those people is Calvin Thomas, and I'm so thankful for you. Thank you so much for joining me. Catch us next time. And I feel part two. I feel it. I feel like there's so much more to tell and so much more to share.
Yes.
So much more of an example that this young 82-year-old is going to give the world. So let's catch us next time.
And I want to say this before I go, Kim. I appreciate all that you do in your community, all you do in this country, really, because you travel a lot. But all that you do to give back, I've known you some years now, a couple of years, and I just thank you for all that you do too. I mean, I don't know if everybody understands what you do, but I want to tell you thank you for what you do.
And I want to say, I want to thank you. I'm glad I met you. You're a good player. Your heart is like mine. You out to help people. You want to help people. And anytime I run across a person that's similar to the heart is similar to mine, I'm connected with. I'm close. I create a thing with them that they're just like me. They're just like they think like me, and that makes it so much better for me in life. I'm glad I met you. When we gonna eat lunch again? So I can get some pork chops.
Pork chops, I'm coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Good night, and we will see you soon.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.